What's going on, guys? So about 2 days ago, I posted a Q&A on Instagram, and I just got back from North Carolina last night. This week is a bunch of Lost Supply apparel stuff, so we're working to build that brand in preparation for the launch here in a few weeks. So I figured it'd be a great opportunity to answer the questions in the Q&A. Steph is gonna go through my Instagram, ask the questions, I'll answer them, and I'll try to finish them before the pre-workout completely just destroys me and I'm useless. So first question, do I have any other business ventures or ideas that I wanna work towards other than BPN and Lost? So my end goal, like talking with my marketing team, marketing agency that we're currently working with, they asked me the same question. One of the things I eventually want to get to is have my own marketing team, marketing department that works with brands. So something I'm very passionate about and interested in is helping build small brands or small to medium-sized brands, help them with social media and being a mentor to their business development and future operations, and being kind of a marketing agency for these developing brands and growing brands. So I think the next thing I want to start and look into is building my own marketing agency to work with these smaller brands. That's just something I'm super passionate about. It's just entrepreneurship and helping entrepreneurs grow and develop their businesses. Am I still doing CrossFit? Excellent question. So I put a pause on CrossFit training when the marathon happened. So a week before I did the marathon, which was like February 18th, I stopped doing CrossFit in preparation for the marathon. And then the Baton Death March happened, and in between that time, I was still recovering and just training to train. We're doing a lot of traveling at the moment. So I haven't really done CrossFit specific workouts since like early February. And now next week, I'm starting my CrossFit programming again. So this has been a question a lot of people have been asking, like why I didn't do the Open and what's going on. I didn't do the Open because so much was going on. We were traveling. I had the marathon, the Death March, and it just didn't fit into my schedule. Now that that is all done and the March Madness is over, where we were traveling every week or like multiple times a week, I'm starting CrossFit programming again next week and hopping on it. And I can't wait, because just taking a break from it and going back to just training to train just to fit stuff in, I can feel a lack of mobility again. I don't move like I used to. I'm feeling heavier. So I'm missing the CrossFit training, and I can't wait to get started again. What military schools have I been through? So when I was a sophomore in college, I got sent to Air Assault School, which I did in Camp Smith, New York. So Air Assault was my first one. And then after graduating commissioning, I went to Fort Benning. I did the Infantry Officer Basic course. Right after that, I went to Ranger School. Right after that, I went to Airborne School. Right after that, I went to Bradley Leader course. And then I went to Fort Hood. And I did some troop schools, like I was a unit movement officer for my company, which if you can avoid any school, avoid the UMO course as an officer. Something that keeps me going when embracing the suck just isn't enough was one of the questions. So on certain events, like say, for example, most recently the Baton Death March, I've experienced more suck than that, a lot more suck than that, but when things start hurting, a lot of things that motivate me or still motivate me is I think back to like my platoon and representing the soldiers and NCOs in the platoon, like my friends I had there, and just being like an example for them. Like if they were there to watch me, or some of their friends were there to watch me and they knew I was part of that platoon and in their unit, I hold myself to a really high standard there. So I always like look back at my platoon and who I was with, and I try to represent them as best as possible. That always pushes me through certain events, whether it's civilian or military-led events. Do I miss bodybuilding? And this is something I really wanted to touch on, because some of my training is still hypertrophy-based, some of it's still strength-based, some of it's CrossFit. And a lot of people look at training as one-dimensional. So if I'm doing a CrossFit workout, I'm a CrossFitter. Or if I'm doing a powerlifting deadlift workout, I'm a powerlifter. Or if I'm doing bicep curls, I'm a bodybuilder. And everyone looks at training as one-dimensional. And it's not the way I look at training. To me, training it's all-encompassing in what I do. I can go for a run in the morning, I can do a bicep workout in the afternoon, I can do a Metcon at night, and I can go snatch and pull in the evening. To me, training it's how I want to train. It's not how training is set up in a definition or a term. I think it's where people mess up a lot, is they see training as one-dimensional, and you can only do certain movements, certain ways, and certain rep ranges to define themselves as that sort of athlete. But that's just not the way I train, and that's not the way I enjoy training. I like doing a bunch of different stuff that I want to do. So ultimately, would I choose BPN or I choose being able to work out and staying fit and athletic. And I would choose BPN 100%. BPN is like, it's my security, it's my job, it's what I'm passionate about, what I love. I have responsibility, as in I have employees and I have a future and I have things that I need to set myself up for success with. BPN to make my life happen. Working out and being athletic is something I enjoy. It's a hobby. It's not my job. It's not what I do for money. It's just what I am also passionate about. But to make a responsible adult decision, BPN will always outweigh being able to work out 100 to 1 or 1 million to 1. This is a question I didn't know if I was going to touch on, but I find some value in bringing it up. So the question was it monthly? How much money does BPN make per month? And I want to preface this by saying that the amount of money BPN makes doesn't mean it's what goes into my bank account. Running a business, owning a business, comes with a responsibility. I've talked about before. You have employees, you have expenses, you have overhead, you have the job of growing and scaling the business, reinvesting the money into the business. The business is the baby, and you just keep building that baby. This past month, BPN made $250,000. And where I find the true value in this monetary amount or bringing this up is when I first got to Korea. It was February of 2016. My goal was to take BPN from making $3,000 a month to $10,000 a month. All I wanted to do was have BPN make 6 figures in that year. And I grew that in like 45 days from $3,000 a month to $10,000 a month, just building the company. And since then, over the past 2 years since then, we've grown the company exponentially month to month to month. And it's reinvesting the money that we make back into the company. It's not taking the money that BPN makes and having fun with it and going and partying and going on vacations. It's reinvesting back in, adding more products to the line, reinvesting in technology, growing the team, bringing on a marketing agency, all these things. And that's what I love about entrepreneurship and owning a business is it's not that you just put the money in your pocket. It's the ability to grow something and continue to grow something and then reinvest it into something else. Like, with BPN growing and adding more products on the line, that allowed us to open up this new company, Lost Supply Apparel, and reinvest that money into Lost Supply. And that's where I find the true value in sharing these numbers with you guys is you see the growth, but you see what we do with the money that BPN continues to make and bring in. Is we reinvest and grow that company and build more companies. It's because that's what we love. We love business. We love Preston and Joe love logistics and that aspect of everything. And it just makes it fun. It just makes it fun. Question is, what is the most suck I've ever embraced outside of the military? I guess this is going to be kind of military, but kind of not military. So I'd say the most suck I embraced, like the most exhausted I was in my life that I remember was right when we got back. I got back from Korea. Preston was already down here in Texas. He moved from Pennsylvania. He signed the lease for the warehouse. So by the time I got back, we moved right in and we got started building the gym. So we were building the gym to open in February. So from October when I got back to February when we opened, it was literally and we were living in this area closer to Austin. I'd wake up at like 4 o'clock and I would drive to Fort Hood. I would do PT. And I remember after PT till when we worked, so PT was from 6:30 to 7:30. And then from like 7:45 to like 8:30, I'd sleep in my car at the time, go into work, and we worked till, it really depended, 5 to 8 p.m. And as soon as that was over, I would drive back up to Austin. We'd work on the gym, and we'd film videos until like 1 a.m. And then I would edit until like 2 or 3, and then I'd sleep like an hour. So I was sleeping after PT, and I was sleeping during lunch in my car at work. And that was like that's like an entire fog of my life. That was probably the most like suck I embraced outside of some sort of military training or school, truly. When is Lost Supply Apparel launching has been a big question. So the big holdup right now is flannels, because flannels are cut and sew. So we tell the manufacturers what we're looking for. They send us a sample. We look over the sample, we test it, we wash it, we look at the cut, we send them back feedback of what we want to change or what we like, and they produce another sample, send it back to us. So it's a long process. Everything else has been produced and is ready to sell. So the flannels is what's holding up Lost Supply Apparel's launch. What we're planning on doing, depending on this next round of samples from the flannels that comes in, is we're gonna launch Lost before the flannels are done, and then launch the flannels weeks or months after, as soon as we approve them, because we want the flannels to be perfect. So when you launch Lost, it's gonna be the hoodies, the shirts, the hats, the whoobies, the coffee mugs, all that stuff is what we're gonna launch originally. Hopefully in the next 4 weeks is the plan. But we're gonna announce on the Instagram, announce on YouTube. We're working really hard on Lost. Launch and Lost is destroying me, those 2 words. We're working very hard to launch Lost as soon as possible, but we're not rushing it. Taylor Swift, we're going to a Taylor Swift concert at the end of September. Steph's birthday present. My favorite lifting album right now, which has been like my PR album, is, why can't I think of it right now? Not This Will Destroy You. Bring Me the Horizon. Bring Me the Horizon. Every time there's a PR opportunity or I need some sort of motivation. I also have a playlist on Spotify called Humble, which I'm trying to build up. If I could go back and meet my 20-year-old self, what would I say to him? I've talked about this before. I'd say when I was 26, which was just last year, when I was 26, it's when I grew the most professionally and personally. That's when I really figured out what I wanted to do in my life and where I wanted to be and what type of person I wanted to become, and my goals and what defined success to me at that point. I've also read a quote that I remember all the time. It says, if you don't look back at what you were doing the previous year and the work you put in, or the work you created, and you don't cringe at that, it means you didn't grow the next year. Which is, if you don't look back at last year and cringe at what you were doing, essentially, you weren't pushing yourself to grow and develop. And if I went back to when I was 20, I was like a sophomore in college. I thought I had it all figured out. And I remember I just started BPN around that time, and I went to my ROTC professor of military science, and I told him, hey sir, I want to go National Guard because I started the supplement company and it's going to blow up next week. So I'm going to go National Guard. And he won't let me do it. He made me go active duty because, he had it figured out. He had years of wisdom and time to realize that I started this company and it wasn't going to succeed necessarily right away. And he was right. So when I was 20, I thought I had everything figured out. I knew what I was doing, where I wanted to be, what type of person I wanted to become, and who I was. But early 20s is when I found that I really developed and grew and experienced a lot of things, being in the military and being young and being put in a position of leadership and management. And it really molded me to become the person I am today and what I wanted to accomplish in my life. So if I look back at when I was 20, I'd probably just slap myself and say, you don't have shit figured out yet. Last question I'm going to touch on is how we came about developing Lost Supply Apparel. So Steph and I were actually in Whistler, Canada on a little trip, and I think just being in that environment where it's it was beautiful there. It was snowing, it was up towards Pacific Northwest, which reminded me of Washington, right above Washington, where it's huge trees and mountains, and when we were skiing at the slopes and stuff, we were above the clouds sometimes, and you're disconnected from social media and you can just enjoy what you're doing. It was absolutely beautiful there, stunning. I guess it's part of being in the military and that background and enjoying the outdoors. Before going to Whistler, Canada, we went to Big Bend and we hiked, and we stayed in this awesome Airbnb in the middle of this ghost town. And just that kind of exploration and those kind of trips of just getting lost is kind of what sparked both of our ideas to build this company and start Lost. It just felt right. It felt like it was a great opportunity, and it was something that we were completely a part of. It wasn't something that was unfamiliar and unnatural to us, but it was a part of our lives and what we do and what we enjoyed. And then I also played off the whole theme of you can't spell Lost without LT. Sometimes you just got to own it. Being a Lost lieutenant, you got to own that part of it. And that's how it all started, and that's where it's at right now. And like I said, it just felt right. So that's the Q&A, guys. Thank you for submitting the questions, and really enjoyed answering some of these that I don't get to touch on all the time in vlogs. That's a video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one.